From homeless to millionaire. The inspiring journey of a Black woman, Maria clutched her tattered backpack as the sky darkened over the sprawling city of La Ciudad. The sound of vendors closing up their stalls mixed with the clatter of distant traffic. Still beneath the flickering streetlights, a vibrant life pulsed around her. It was a city filled with contrasts. The faint scent of sizzling street tacos wafted past the grimy corners of her reality. This wasn't just her home. It was a maze of survival, where each day felt like a battle she fought with a mix of hope and resignation. That evening, something remarkable stirred in the air. A murmur rumbling through the crowd caught her attention. People whispered his name, Henry, the millionaire who had just moved back to La Ciudad after years abroad. Rumors flitted like fireflies. Some said he had a heart of gold, while others warned he was cloaked in shadows. Maria shook her head. Things like millionaires were not meant for her. She had her own turmoil to face, one that darkened as the weight of a long-hidden secret pressed against her. It all happened so fast. One moment, she was scavenging for dinner, and the next, a tall figure approached her. He stood against the backdrop of the chaotic street, a sleek silhouette of authority and mystery. "Are you hungry?" he asked, his voice smooth but full of something deeper. Before she could answer, he placed a warm sandwich in her hand. "Here, no strings attached." Stunned, she blinked up at him. His eyes held a kindness that felt foreign yet familiar. "Thank you," Maria managed, her heart pounding. She couldn't remember the last time someone had offered her something without expecting a favor. The warmth radiated from the sandwich into her chest, igniting a flicker of hope she thought long extinguished. But as the humidity wrapped itself around them, she felt another warmth rising within her. A realization that made her stomach churn. Days later, reality unfolded into blurry lines of panic. She was pregnant, not just with one child, but two. The news hit her like an unexpected storm. Twins. Her heart raced with fear and disbelief. How could she raise two kids on her own, with the odds stacked against her? Maria felt lost. Her thoughts bobbed between fear and possibility, the city's pulsing contradictions mirroring her own turmoil. Who was Henry really, and what did he want with her? Could she trust him? The whispers about his powerful family filled her ears, yet hope danced around her precariously, urging her to take a leap. But shadows lingered, waiting to unravel the tangled web of her past. As she walked through the streets of La Ciudad, the flickering lights cast dreams and nightmares in equal measure. Just as Maria began to believe her path might lead somewhere better, a cryptic message showed up one evening. "Watch your back." It made her skin crawl. Who sent it? What did it mean for her and her babies? With her heart pounding in her chest and uncertainty gnawing at her, she stood at the edge of a choice. Could she confront the truth, even if it was veiled in shadows? Or would fear keep her chained to a fate she didn't choose? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're here, hit that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As Maria stood there, heart racing, the world around her felt like it was closing in. The cryptic message gnawed at her thoughts, shadows whispering insecurities that threatened to swallow her whole. Watch your back. Was she really in danger? With each breath, tension coiled tighter in her chest. The city of La Ciudad, for so long a maze of survival, now felt like a trap. Just as she turned to leave, looking for the safety of the crowded streets, an explosion shattered the evening calm. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and an ear-splitting boom echoed through La Ciudad. Screams pierced the air as a nearby building erupted into flames. Her heart dropped, eyes wide with disbelief. The streetlights flickered violently, casting eerie shadows that danced around her. Panic surged. People ran, tripping over one another, desperate for safety. Maria stumbled back as a wave of heat rushed past her. Somewhere in the chaos, someone shouted, "Get to the river." Her instincts kicked in. She needed to protect her babies. She pushed through the throngs, her legs moving faster than ever. But in the midst of the chaos, she caught a glimpse of a familiar figure. Henry. He was standing at the edge of the fray, not running, but watching, an unreadable expression on his face. The warmth he had shown her just days ago felt like a distant memory. "Henry!" Maria shouted, desperately trying to catch his gaze. But he didn't respond. Instead, he turned sharply, disappearing into the smoke. Confusion washed over her. Why wasn't he helping? Then, through the smoke and chaos, she spotted something glimmering on the ground, a small locket, half buried in the dirt. As she bent down to pick it up, her heartbeat thudded loudly in her ears. Opening it revealed a picture, the image of a child, a boy, with familiar features. A sharp chill traveled up her spine. "No," she breathed, realization slicing through her. The boy looked like her, but he wasn't just any child. He was the spitting image of Henry. "Maria," a voice pierced through the noise. It was Elena, an old friend from the streets. "We need to go, now." Maria snapped her head up, still clutching the locket. "Elena, wait, look at this. Is he—" But before she could finish, a second explosion rocked the ground. Debris fell like rain, and a wave of heat surged forward. She and Elena ran, narrowly escaping the smoke and flames. As they sprinted, Maria's mind raced. Was Henry truly who he claimed to be? What had he been hiding? They reached the riverbank, breathless and shaken. People huddled together, trying to comprehend what was happening. Maria clutched the locket to her chest, her heart pounding, not just from fear, but from the whirlwind of questions. She had already been teetering on the edge of a new life, and now everything felt upside down. "Do you think he's involved?" Elena asked breathlessly. "I don't know," Maria whispered, her voice thick with uncertainty. The darkness beyond the flames felt deeper than just a city in chaos. It was her entire world unraveling. Then, as if the city was listening, the lights dimmed and a chilling announcement rang out from a broken speaker. "Attention citizens of La Ciudad, we have uncovered a serious threat. Stay alert. Don't trust anyone." The words hung heavy between them. Heart pounding, Maria looked at Elena. What have I gotten myself into? A knot twisted in her stomach as fear smothered her hope. Everything she thought she knew was shaking apart, and with it, her future. The children inside her stirred, as if sensing her turmoil. Could she uncover the truth before it consumed her? Or were the very people she encountered, including Henry, caught in a web of darkness and deception that could threaten their lives? As chaos reigned, only one question lingered in her mind. Who could she truly trust? As chaos reigned, only one question lingered in Maria's mind. Who could she truly trust? The riverbank felt like a fragile sanctuary amid the storms crashing around her. She clutched the locket closer, the cool metal pressing against her heart. The fear of the unknown weighed heavier than ever. "Maria," Elena shouted, pulling her from her thoughts. "We need to get out of here." But just as they prepared to flee, a blinding flash lit up the darkening sky. They turned to see a towering figure standing at the river's edge. It was Henry, but not the warm, kind man she remembered. His eyes were wild. "Maria, don't move." His voice cut through the chaos, urgent and raw. "What are you doing here?" Maria shouted back, her pulse racing. The looming danger felt miles away, but the sight of Henry left her paralyzed. "Elena," he pointed sharply, "get her out of here." Despite the confusion swirling in her chest, something in his tone made her heart race with fear. Antonio, a man known for his laser-like focus on power, emerged from the shadows, flanked by thugs wearing dark jackets. They moved with a lethal grace, their eyes darting around like predators. "Get her," he hissed. "Stop," Henry commanded, his voice breaking with desperation. Suddenly, the rugged ground beneath them seemed to shift, as if the very earth conspired against them. Just then, a gasp swept through the crowd, the attention shifting away from Maria and Elena to the raging river. The waters, furious after the explosions, began to swell dangerously high. "We have to go now!" Elena grabbed Maria's arm, her grip tightening, but Maria's eyes were fixed on Henry's face. "What is happening?" she asked, breathless. His expression darkened, revealing a turmoil she hadn't seen before. "Maria, I didn't want you to find out this way," he said, taking a step closer, urgency etched into his features. "You and we're connected. Families are involved in more than just business. Our worlds are tied far deeper than you realize." Connected? Her mind struggled to grasp what he was saying. The locket felt heavier in her palm, its weight growing unbearable. "What do you mean?" Just as he began to explain, another explosion boomed from a building nearby, causing onlookers to scream. The shockwave sent Maria stumbling backward, but Henry caught her arm, holding her steady. "It's too dangerous. You have to trust me." Behind them, Antonio unleashed a laugh that chilled Maria's bones. "You think you can keep her safe? She's part of this mess now." His arrogance was intoxicating, asserting fear over them all. In that very moment, Maria felt a sharp pain radiate from her abdomen, a sudden reminder of the lives growing inside her. She gasped, doubling over. "Are you okay?" Elena asked, panic glassing her eyes. "Not now," Henry shouted, his voice cutting through their fear, but his own panic clear beneath the surface. "Watch out!" But it was too late. From the distance, he emerged, a figure cloaked in shadows, his face hidden. He raised a hand, and just like that, the river swelled higher than Maria ever thought possible. It surged toward them like a tsunami, roaring with terrifying power. "Run!" she yelled, but heartbreak gripped her chest. Henry didn't move, frozen at the edge of the bank, fear refusing to let him act. Suddenly, a deafening crack echoed through the air as the bridge above them collapsed under the pressure, concrete and steel falling like confetti of destruction. The world seemed to fold, collapsing not just around them, but within, unraveling the tangled threads of trust and safety. As the water rushed toward them, Maria locked eyes with Henry, confusion swirling. The last thought was a flash in her mind. What did he mean by connection? "You lied!" she shrieked. But the force of water shot toward them, between love and betrayal, challenging everything in a moment that felt stretched and raw. Then there was nothing else but the cold embrace of the river, pulling her deep into the unknown as Henry's silhouette vanished. In a world transformed by fear and chaos, the truth loomed like a monster beneath the surface, a truth she might never uncover. As the cold embrace of the river pulled Maria down, her mind was a whirlwind of fear and confusion. The water rushed over her, dragging her under. Blinding panic clawed at her throat. But as she flailed against the current, something pulled her back to the surface. A strong hand grasped her wrist, yanking her into the air. Gasping, she looked up to see Henry's face, eyes wild with urgency and fear. "Are you okay?" he shouted over the chaos, the deafening roar of the river drowning out everything else. I don't know," she gasped, choking on water. His grip tightened, and suddenly the world seemed impossibly still. just for a heartbeat. Then, without warning, a piercing scream echoed from the bank. Maria's eyes widened. A woman, a mother with a toddler, had been caught in the debris. The child's cries pierced through the chaos. "Stay here," Henry barked, before releasing her and plunging back into the crowd. "No, don't leave me," Maria screamed, scrambling to follow. But the current of people swept her away, and in moments, Henry was lost in the chaos. Her heart pounded in her chest. The river's grip was becoming tighter, and she felt adrenaline seep out, leaving only dread. Then she heard a familiar voice. "Maria!" It was Elena. She grabbed Maria's arm and pulled her back toward the bank. "We have to find safety now." "What about Henry?" Maria shouted, panic threading through her veins. "Forget him. We need to go," Elena insisted, her voice urgent. But as they turned, the ground underfoot quaked. The explosion from the building had triggered a chain reaction, causing the ground itself to churn. The sky was black with smoke, the air thick with panic. Suddenly, a blinding flash struck again, this time from the other side of the river. Maria turned, eyes wide. A dark figure appeared, one she recognized, a face shrouded in shadows but unmistakable. It was Antonio, his laugh echoing over the chaos, cutting through her heart like ice. "Henry!" Maria screamed, desperately, searching the crowd for him. Then everything changed. A loud bang erupted from above, and an entire section of the nearby building collapsed. As the dust settled, something caught Maria's eye. A small object spiraled down and landed near her. Fear bubbled inside her, and as she approached it, she saw a badge. Her heart dropped as she recognized it. It was the badge of the police department, but not just any badge. It bore the name of her estranged father. "Maria, let's go!" Elena shouted, pulling her back. Everything clicked. Her father had been a cop, tangled in corruption, and somehow she had been oblivious. She felt the world tilt. No wonder the city felt dangerous. The whispers about Henry, the ties, the threats. Had Henry known something she didn't? Before she could process the flood of emotions, the trees near the riverbank rustled violently as if the city were awakening. A chilling realization coursed through her. Antonio wasn't just a criminal. He was part of a network that had reached into her family roots, entwining her with darkness she wasn't prepared to confront. "Maria!" A voice called out again, but this time it was not Henry. She turned to find an older man dressed in worn clothes, eyes pleading. "Help me," he cried, pointing toward the bridge, which was about to give way completely. Time felt like it pressed down with leaden hands. Who could she save? Henry? The child? This man? Her own heart felt heavy, burdened with the truth of her past. The distance from the river to safety felt greater than it ever had. As the water surged behind her, she stood frozen, clutching the badge. Did that piece of metal hold the key to her destiny? As the final echo of the collapsing bridge roared behind them, Maria knew. Her life wasn't just tied to Henry or the chaos outside. It was woven into a tapestry darker than she ever imagined. A web that could either save her or bury her completely. "Maria!" Elena yelled, tears streaming down her face. "We need to go, now!" But all Maria could think was how far the shadows reached. How deep does the darkness go? More questions swirled in her mind, and amid the chaos, she wondered, could she escape it? Or was it already too late? "I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that." As the final echo of the collapsing bridge roared behind them, Maria felt everything narrowing to a single moment. A blend of fear and desperation surged through her veins. The rushing river beside her churned violently, threatening to swallow her whole. "Maria!" Elena yelled, her voice laced with urgency. "We need to go, now." But all Maria could think was how far the shadows reached. The badge in her hand felt like a weight dragging her down, pulling her deeper into a past filled with danger. What secrets were still hidden? Did her father play a role in this nightmare? Suddenly, a loud crack rang through the air, louder than the explosions before. The ground beneath her trembled, and Maria's eyes widened in horror as she turned to face the river. The water swelled ominously, much higher than before. Panic rippled through the crowd. Was this the end? But then, from the depths of the swirling chaos, an unexpected figure emerged. It was Henry, dragging someone through the debris. His shirt was torn, dirt smeared across his face. But his eyes shined with determination. It was not just Maria he was fighting for. He had someone else, Maria. He shouted, a mixture of relief and urgency flooding his voice. "Get to safety. I'll be right behind you." "Henry," she screamed, but before she could say more, the figure beside him came into view. A little boy, clinging to Henry's side, face pale with fear. A wave of shock crashed over Maria as she recognized him. "Carlos," she whispered, heart racing. The boy was her son, but how? When had he come into this nightmare? For the briefest moment, the world blurred around her. She couldn't focus. She had thought her life couldn't become more complicated, but here it was, her son in the midst of chaos. The locket swung in her hand, its weight suddenly more than she could bear. "Maria!" Elena pulled her back to reality. "We need to move." But it was too much to comprehend. How did Henry find Carlos? Why was he with him? "Henry!" she cried. "How did you get him?" "Later! Move!" he yelled, hoisting Carlos up onto his hip. "We need to get out of here. It's not safe." The ground shook again, debris falling like rain around them. Maria's instincts kicked in, and she dashed toward them. "Give me my son!" But before she could reach them, Antonio burst through the crowd, eyes locked onto her with a fire that chilled her bones. "Stop!" he bellowed, pointing a finger at Henry. "That child is mine." In that moment, the air felt electric. Maria's heart thudded painfully against her ribs. "What do you mean, yours?" she shouted, disbelief flooding her. Henry's grip on Carlos tightened. "No, Maria, he's yours." "He's not. Enough." Antonio cut him off, a smirk distorting his face. "You think I couldn't find out? You think I wouldn't know?" Maria's world spun, the ground beneath her feeling unstable and dangerous. Her breath hitched. "What are you talking about?" "Carlos is my son," Antonio exclaimed, voice dripping with menace. "I've known all along, and now you're both in my grasp." Silence hung heavy in the air. The crowd fell away, the chaos fading into whispers. Maria's heart raced as her thoughts scrambled through confusion and terror. It couldn't be. "No," she shook her head, desperation clawing at her. "He's mine." But Antonio grinned, eyes sparkling with victory. "You've had him all along, but he belongs with me." "It's time for you to face the truth, Maria. It's not just about you anymore." A deafening roar filled the air as the river surged higher, swallowing more of the bank. The darkness lurking behind Antonio felt vast and terrifying, and Maria's resolve wavered. Who was telling the truth? Who was lying? As Henry stood solid beside her, fear and adrenaline twisting in the air, there was only one lingering question in Maria's mind. What would this shocking revelation mean for her, for Carlos, and for the lives hanging in the balance? As the world around them trembled, Maria felt her heart pounding in her chest. The chaos pushed against her, a living, breathing creature, clawing at her resolve. Antonio loomed like a storm cloud above her, his words twisting in the air, heavy with threat. It felt surreal, like she was stuck in a nightmare, waiting to wake up. "Carlos!" She reached for her son, but Henry tightened his hold, the flicker of fear in his eyes imbuing her with a sense of urgency. "Get out of here, now!" Antonio was closing in, confidence spilling from him like gasoline over fire. "You think I'm letting you take my son? You have no idea how deep this runs." The words hit Maria with a force she couldn't comprehend. They rattled against her sense of reality, reverberating through her soul. "What do you mean, your son?" A chill settled in her bones, every instinct telling her this wasn't just about her life anymore. "Exactly what I said." Antonio stepped forward, eyes gleaming with power. "Carlos is the key to this entire operation. You've unknowingly played your part, and I'll make sure you don't mess this up." The breath caught in Maria's throat. She glanced at Carlos, who stood shivering between Henry's arms, eyes wide with confusion and fear. It hurt to see him like that, innocent and trapped. "He's not yours, he's mine." "You're lying." Antonio chuckled darkly, a sound that sent a wave of revulsion through her. "You really don't know, do you? The connection is far more twisted than either of us could imagine." He lifted his chin, almost as if enjoying the tension he created. The chaos around them was fading into a blur. The distant echoes of panic swirled like a storm. But Maria's world had narrowed to this: Antonio, Henry, Carlos. Every decision felt heavy, the stakes higher than she could ever have foreseen. Then suddenly, everything erupted. The ground shook violently underfoot, and a loud bang rained above. Maria instinctively turned her head. Just beyond the buildings, flames erupted into the sky, casting an orange glow that illuminated Antonio's twisted grin. And then, everything changed. A flash of light shot toward them, blinding and fierce. It wasn't just an explosion. It felt different, almost deliberate. The ground shuddered again, and a wave surged forward from the river with a terrifying force, sweeping everyone off their feet. In that instant, Antonio was thrown backward, his words drowned out by screams. But what happened next made Maria's heart stop cold. From the depths of the smoke and chaos emerged a figure, tall and powerful. He stepped closer, face half hidden by shadows. "You've all been pawns in a bigger game," he thundered, his voice resonating deep. Maria squinted, trying to see through the haze. A realization struck her hard. It was Salvador, her father's old partner, the man she believed had betrayed her family. But he stood there, looking more like a king than the criminal she once thought him to be. "Salvador?" she whispered, disbelief choking her words. Every fiber of her being shook with the implications. He smirked, lifting a hand toward Antonio. "Did you really think I'd let you run this operation alone? You took my son away, but it's time for you to face the music." "Your son?" Maria's heart raced. Her mind reeled. "What do you—" But before she could finish, the crowd surged. The fire and chaos ahead consumed everything. Friends, enemies, the very fabric of her reality. Salvador's presence shifted everything. Sleight of hand, a darker game than she could ever fathom. And as she glanced back at Henry, a scream tore through her. Carlos was gone. No, no, no. Panic threatened to boil over as she plunged back into the thrumming chaos, searching frantically for her son. As the world spun around her, one desperate thought consumed her. How many secrets had woven their fates together? And could she even trust the man she thought she knew, the father of her son? Or was this the beginning of an even deeper betrayal? Nothing felt certain now. In a world spiraling out of control, she had only one question left. What game were they playing, and who was the real enemy? As the world spun around her, Maria felt her heart pounding in her chest. Everything was happening too fast. She gasped for air, her thoughts racing. Carlos was gone. No, not my son. Panic surged inside her, pushing her deeper into the chaos. "Carlos!" she screamed, desperation clawing at her throat. Her eyes darted around, searching, but all she could see were terrified faces and flickering flames. Every step pulled her closer to despair. "Over here!" Elena's voice cut through the noise. Maria turned to see her frantically waving from behind a fallen beam. "He's over here!" Maria ran toward her friend. Relief washed over her in waves as they ducked under what remained of the structure. But just when she thought she could catch her breath, another explosion rocked the ground. The air cracked like thunder, and she stumbled again, barely catching herself. "Now what?" Elena shouted above the din as debris fell. But Maria's thoughts were elsewhere. Henry, the badge, Salvador. It all swirled in her head, drowning her in confusion. And just when her resolve wavered, a shape emerged from the smoke, a figure she recognized instinctively. It was Carlos, standing among the debris, a small silhouette against the chaos. "Carlos!" she cried, breaking into a sprint. He was safe. Her heart soared. But as she reached for him, Henry's warning echoed in her mind. "Maria, wait!" But it was too late. She lunged for her son, arms outstretched. Just inches away, the ground beneath Carlos crumbled and he fell. Her scream pierced the air. "No!" Time slowed. The world shifted. A shadow from behind lunged forward. Antonio, quick as a snake, grasped Carlos's arm, yanking the child backward just before he tumbled into the fire. Maria's heart seized. "Let him go!" she screamed, fear and rage mingling in her chest. Antonio's smirk pierced through her, the malice in his eyes unmistakable. "You think you have the power here, Maria? Think again." In that single breath, something shattered inside her. The ground was shaking, reality tearing apart, and amidst it all, a voice sliced through the chaos. A voice that turned her blood cold. "Antonio, you fool! Let the child go." And from behind, Salvador emerged, stepping from the shadows like an ominous storm. The flames danced in his eyes, and the truth hit Maria like a slap. "You're in on this?" Maria gasped, betrayal slicing through her. "You knew?" Salvador's face twisted. "I had no choice. You don't understand." But before he could finish, the chaos erupted again. The river behind him heaved violently, a monster rising. The water surged, swallowing debris, menacing and wild. And at that moment, with the world on fire around them, he raised his hands. "Enough of this," Salvador declared, his voice booming above the roaring river. "You, Antonio, you played your hand too soon." In an unexpected twist, he pulled out a small object from his coat, a detonator. "I could end this right now." The crowd gasped, collective fear erupting like wildfire. Maria's head spun. "What are you doing?" Antonio's expression switched from arrogance to sheer terror. "You wouldn't dare." "I will, if it means protecting what's mine," Salvador shouted, his eyes locked on Maria. "Everything I've fought to keep safe is at stake." The threat hung in the air, thick as smoke. Maria stood frozen, every muscle tense with shock. In seconds, everything changed. Suddenly, the story she had thought she understood came crashing down. Carlos looked up at her, confusion etched on his tiny face, and she knew this wasn't just about her anymore. Lives teetered on the edge, and every decision carried weight. "Maria, we need to move," Elena urged, pulling at her arm, but Maria couldn't budge. She was caught in a web she never asked to be part of. The urgency of the moment pressed at her chest, and as the shadows closed in, a deadly silence fell. The next move could unravel everything. So many secrets, so much betrayal. And just as she prepared to confront Salvador, the detonator clicked ominously. In that moment, one question sliced through the turmoil. Who was truly the enemy here, and how deep did the betrayal run? As the shadows shifted and the air thickened with fear, Maria stood paralyzed, staring at the detonator in Salvador's hand. The drumroll of chaos surrounded her, a world about to explode. "Who are you really, Salvador?" Maria's voice trembled. The weight of her truth felt like a burden too heavy to bear. Was he truly a protector, or was he leveraging her for something darker? "Time's running out," Salvador warned sharply, eyes darting from Antonio to the river, where water was raging with a vengeance. But before he pressed the button, something unexpected happened. A sharp crack echoed through the crowd, cut through the chaos like a knife. In an instant, everything shifted. A figure burst through the smoke, and for a heartbeat, time stood still. It was the last person anyone expected, a woman, fierce and determined, with fiery eyes. Maria felt her breath catch as she recognized her. It was her mother, Agustina, the very woman she thought was lost forever. "Stop, all of you!" Agustina's voice rang out, clear and unwavering. Gasps rippled through the crowd, stunned faces mirroring Maria's own disbelief. "Mom, but how?" Maria's heart raced, a mix of joy and confusion crashing over her. Agustina stepped forward, a hidden strength emanating from her, eyes locked on Salvador. "You are all pawns in a game you don't fully understand," Agustina said, her voice steady. Salvador's hands trembled, caught off guard. "You think you're the mastermind, but you don't know the half of it." "What do you mean?" Maria stepped closer, her mother's presence bringing a glimmer of warmth amid the chaos. "What's happening?" But Agustina's gaze remained fixed on Salvador. "You hid the truth from her. You hid everything from your own child." Her words hung heavy, echoes of a past long buried surfacing. "Enough!" Salvador shouted, but Agustina was relentless. "Your operations, your connections, it's all been a cover for something much grander." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, whispers weaving through the chaos. Salvador's grip on the detonator faltered. "No, you can't." But Agustina pressed forward, eyes blazing. "The night your father disappeared, your life was never the same, Maria. He didn't betray us. He was trying to protect you." A chill ran down Maria's spine. "Protect me? From what?" Suddenly, Salvador pulled out a photograph, crumpling it in his fist, as if it contained the darkest secret. "This isn't just about revenge. It's about power, Maria. About owning your legacy." The crowd gasped. The word legacy echoed like a death knell. What legacy? Maria felt her heart racing, questions spilling from her lips faster than she could form them. Agustina stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You've been chosen to lead, to bring down the very foundation of crime that has thrived in this city." Maria's world twisted, and in that moment, a violent sense of betrayal filled her. "You mean I was born into this?" The detonator slipped from Salvador's fingers as a look of desperation crossed his face. The figure of Antonio lurked behind, conflicted, the horizon lit with the fire of explosions, creating an atmosphere heavy with dread. "Maria!" Henry shouted from across the crowd, urgency in his voice. "Don't listen to them!" But even as he spoke, the very ground beneath them trembled once more, an ominous reminder that time was running out. Amidst heated whispers of legacy and power, the stakes had transformed. Every truth Maria thought she knew twisted painfully, and the looming question captured her entire being. What kind of legacy was she truly meant to inherit? The flames reflected in her eyes as she stood frozen between two worlds, desperately fighting to understand who was friend, who was foe, and who was ready to pay the price for secrets built on lives entwined. "I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that."